making money, obviously. You need to have the users come to your website, or to your application, or to your game. And then you have to have them go through a funnel. And then finally, you have a conversion. And at the time of conversion, that's when Paymentwall or our competitors are important. So most companies like us only pay attention to that last phase where the payment happens. And then finally, the user pays, gets what they want, and we're happy to make our commission. The game company is happy because they also generate revenue. So that's something we analyze on a daily basis, and the presentation basically speaks about the whole flow. Okay, so let's start slowly. Let me ask also, before I start, what do you guys do? Are you guys all game developers? If you're a game developer, can you raise your hand? Okay. And then if you're from the web industry, like if you build a SaaS product, could you raise your hand? Do you build any services for game companies or other types? Okay, only one? Okay, cool. And I'm curious what other people do, but I don't know how to ask a question for that. So, are you students maybe? Are there any students in the audience? No students. Everybody looks really nice. Okay, so let's start. Conversion involves several different steps. So the first step is discovery. The second step is evaluation. The third step is negotiation, and then finally conversion. So a conversion cannot take place unless you have discovery, then evaluation, then negotiation, and then finally you get to conversion. So no discovery means there's nothing. So how does that reflect itself to games nowadays? If you look at the App Store, everybody talks about the discovery problem, right? So there's a lot of applications. I don't know how many applications are on the App Store, Apple's App Store. Probably at least 1 million. But then to be able to find the right applications, you have to search for the right keywords, and then you have to somehow randomly land onto a game that's interesting or a topic that's interesting that shows up in the search results. Then you proceed to the next steps. So everybody talks about the discovery problem. That's one of these discovery issues. You can also look at the real world, and I like to actually refer to the real world because we're so virtualized nowadays that it's really difficult to analyze how things work in a non-abstract form, because everything is abstract. So if you look at the real world, you have a store that sells, let's say, piroshki. So the piroshki store needs to be discoverable. It needs to be in a location where people are going to discover the piroshki store, and they have to be, the users of the piroshki store have to be hungry. So you might want to open your piroshki store near a metro station or near a bus stop or something like that, so that you land on many users, many customers who are going to be hungry at any point in time throughout the whole day. So in the real world, that's how discovery used to work. But then now online, it's all abstract, right? It's all about keywords. It's all about using the graphics that are kind of attractive and so on. So things have changed. So let's move on. The second phase is the evaluation phase. Now, this takes a little bit longer. So the user discovers the app somehow, or he discovers the game, discovers the website, and then what they do is they actually go into this evaluation phase. So the evaluation phase is just a small time frame when the user has to make a decision about relevance. So is your application relevant to them or not? Is there a need for that application or for that game for them or not? Is there something that attracts them to your application or not? That's the evaluation. So the idea, the goal here is for successful applications or successful games or successful products, you want to create impulse buy scenarios. What's an impulse buy? Does anybody know what an impulse buy is? Okay. So impulse buy is basically you see something and you really want to get it. Let's say you're in the grocery store, and as you're buying, let's say, the groceries that you bought that day, they present you with bubble gum. You're like, okay, it's only it's there, I want bubble gum, I'll need bubble gum, so you just basically grab it and go. You don't even think about it. It's a low friction purchase item, an impulse buy. So the idea is to create low friction impulse buys in games. And that's why a lot of people engineer different ways, different methodologies for getting people to do various things quickly without having to get the users to think. So that's what the goals are. All of our goals are to create impulse buy scenarios. My goal is, for example, with this presentation, my impulse buy is I want you guys to listen to my presentation, understand everything right away, and walk out having understood everything. So I want to make sure that my presentation is as easy as possible. So something that Americans do really well is creating products or creating pitches or creating scenarios that are very easy to understand. So what do? They keep everything simple. They keep it so simple that even the most lowest common denominator of the society can understand. So even a kid can understand it, or even a stupid person who has an IQ level of 0, I hope that doesn't exist, but they can understand it. So at least, so when you're building your products and when you're creating these flows, you want to make sure that the evaluation phase moves as quickly as possible, and you want to make sure that your product is so simple, it's so attractive, and it's meant for stupid people to understand, so that they just flow through it right away. And you can do that with various ways. But before that, let's talk about success stories, right? So before I say that you should believe me, I should tell you that there's examples out there that do a really good job. So the examples out there are big companies that do a really good job with keeping things simple and appealing to the least common denominator. So one company that we all know is Apple. What they do is they spend a lot of time in simplifying how computer interfaces work, right? So we have Windows that has all these menus, all these different sections you need to go to be able to navigate the operating system. Well, Apple has simplified the UI experience. You only go to one place for settings. You only go to one place to increase the volume, decrease the volume. You go to the browser button to be able to see the browser. They don't have a convoluted experience. They have a really simple experience for you to navigate. Another example is Las Vegas. So if you think about it, has anybody been to Las Vegas here? Okay, a few people. So basically, if you go to Las Vegas, you'll see big casinos, really huge casinos. I would say each casino is maybe 10 times the hotel or something like that, with a bunch of slot machines. What is their goal? Their goal is to create a low-friction way to gamble, right? They want people to come into the casino, and they want the people to not even think that they're getting into a casino. So it's a hotel. You come to Las Vegas, you stay at a hotel, well, the whole lobby is a casino. So imagine the lobby downstairs. The whole thing is a casino. So you actually can't even find the check-in desk to be able to get into your hotel room. They want you to gamble. So they create a whole experience that's frictionless for gambling, but it's friction-y, with a lot of friction, for checking into your hotel. It's really interesting. So it takes maybe half an hour to find your hotel room in Las Vegas casinos. So they also make the interfaces of the machines so easy. The people can gamble, they can put money in, they can use cash, they can use credit cards, they can use various different options to be able to put money into the machines. And all they do is they just press a button. They don't even have to think that they're gambling. So you have these old ladies sitting at the machine all day with a really comfortable seat. The seats are extremely comfortable because they don't want people to get up. They want people to just sit there and keep gambling. It has to be very low friction. Imagine if you gave people a seat that was not too comfortable, they would get up, right? That would be the friction. So they create these seats that are very cushiony, that make you want to sit there for the whole day. And the buttons are so easy to press. You just keep pressing the buttons all day, and you gamble your life away. HP. So this is, I want to pick a historical example. So we all think about HP as a modern computer company. Well, that's not how it started. It started as a calculator company. So they made math simple. They wanted to simplify math for people. They didn't want people to think about how to, what's 2 by 2, 2 times 2. So they just created a calculator that does that for you. Of course, they did more complicated functions than that, but that was the basis of the HP, and that's how it earned enough money to survive to our modern age. Okay, so the whole point of this whole conversation is that you don't want to make people think. You want to reduce the friction. so that you can just pass through this evaluation phase as soon as possible. Okay, what does the evaluation phase entail? So this is the breakdown of the evaluation phase. So these are the things that go in people's minds. Now, this differs by the people you're trying to appeal to. So this is the evaluation phase of a male person. So males and females, they actually have different ways that they approach stuff. They think differently. So a male mind thinks about their needs, thinks about the price that they need to pay for the item. They think about opportunity cost. So if I did this right now, does anybody know opportunity cost? Yeah. So it's like an economic thing, like it's an economic theory. The opportunity cost is basically, let's say you guys are all in this room right now, right? So your opportunity cost is you not being in the other whole room because you're missing out on another lecture or something. If there's another lecture happening, that's your opportunity cost. So you all made a decision to come to this lecture over some other lecture. That was your opportunity cost. The need and the price. Well, your need is probably to learn something, to get some new ideas. The price is, I guess, who paid for the conference? I didn't actually, I didn't pay. My team. So the price that you paid is also an evaluation that you have to take into consideration when you join it. Then you're liking it. Like the topic of the presentation probably was something that appealed to you or something that didn't appeal to you. So, and then the priority, like, is this important in your life? Is this important right now for you? Well, if you were not building games or if you were not interested in evaluating this funnel and if you didn't care about conversions, you wouldn't be here. And then finally, the competition, like what else is out there that you could have done? So there's another lecture, for example, that would be the opportunity cost, but also it's also the competition. You would have probably looked at the different topics available and you would have chosen one over the other. So this is just the real life scenario, but you have to apply this to yourselves when you're building your application and when you're propagating it, because everybody goes through the same evaluation phases. If it's a male mind, this is the typical evaluation phase that they go through. Okay, let's switch to the female mind. It's a bit different. It's a bit different. So I was curious about this actually, and what was kind of interesting was my mom used to come home from shopping with a lot of bags, like maybe 20 bags. I'm like, Mom, what did you do? Why do you have 20 bags? I just went shopping. I'm like, what did you buy? She has groceries, and she has clothes, she has shoes, she has all kinds of stuff. So she goes, well, I was shopping for food, and I saw also some other stuff. I'm like, what is the other stuff that you saw? Well, I saw some clothes, and I wanted to buy them. Okay, oh, cool. And it was on sale. So they think about a lot of different things. They think about, they get distracted really quickly and then they make a decision based on a lot of emotional stuff. So my mom, for example, made most of her decisions about emotion, based on emotion and addiction. So she was addicted to certain types of things like gadgets and so on. So she always bought those things. It was almost like a collection behavior. And then the emotional stuff is attraction to something. So let's say she sees this color that she really loves, that's her addiction, but also that creates an emotional reaction in her that causes her to buy that item. This is my favorite color, it gives me so much pleasure, that's why I got this. Okay, great. Or, you know, it could be different things. So it changes, of course, from person to person, but the idea is, in the female mind, the items that they buy need to create an addiction, need to relate to their addiction, or they need to have an emotional reaction to the product. But apart from that, they also consider the need and the like. Do they like it and do they need it? Those do play into the evaluation. So let's go back again. This is the male mind and this is the female mind. You see, the price is actually not that relevant. It is relevant, but not too much. Okay, let's move on. So different people, it's not just female versus male. Different people actually evaluate things differently. So when they see stuff, when they're in that evaluation phase, they think about things in a different way. So this is the abbreviated version that I came up with for the theory. So it's ASL, age, sex, location. Then it's culture and income. Age, sex, location, culture, and income. So age, different groups of people have different needs. So if you're like, age 0 to 12, obviously you're living with your parents, you don't have that many life worries, you don't have to go to school even, maybe you have to go to kindergarten. You're not going to have a complex way to evaluate stuff. It's just going to be based on your likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like this. If you're older though, let's say you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, then of course life becomes more challenging. And the way that you evaluate stuff becomes different. So that plays into how you make your evaluation. The sex we talked about. Location is another important. Like if you're inside, let's say you're playing a mobile game, or you're trying to, let's say we're game developers trying to create a location-based product. Well, when they discover that product, and then how they evaluate it, and where they are at that point of evaluation has a lot to do with that conversion. So what does that mean? Well, let's say you have a product that does nightclub reviews. If you promote that at the nightclub, for example, the location at which you promote is a nightclub, and it's a nightclub review application, the audience becomes relevant, right? If you promote it in the bathrooms, most of the people are going to be drunk when they see that. So it's probably not a good location to promote it, and then it's not a good location to be memorable. The evaluation of the people are going to be skewed, because people only go to the bathroom after they've gotten drunk or they've had some drinks. Most of the people at least. So it's better to promote the application, get your funnel going at the entrance when they're waiting in line. While you're waiting in line, why don't you also download this application so you can find out what other clubs are out there, or something like that. So that's what location is about. Location is location and time, but mostly location. The income is important. So if you're promoting really luxury items to people who are students, for example, they're not going to be able to buy those items until they are older in life, when they earn more money in life. So it's also something you need to consider, the income level. And then finally, the culture. If you look at different cultures, you'll see different spending habits and also evaluation behaviors. So for example, something that's really well known is that Asian cultures tend to save more money than like American and European cultures. So Asian cultures, for example, if you look at actually the GDP breakdown and indebtedness of countries, you'll see that Japan, China, and so on rank really high on savings. They actually have, I don't know, quite a bit of savings compared to their GDP. And if you look at the US and other nations in the West, you'll see that they actually spend more than they have. They have a big debt, a national debt. So even at the aggregate level, at the national level, you can see that these people end up having a huge difference in how they spend money based on their culture and how they evaluate stuff also. Okay, so let's go to the next slides. So now we're slowly transitioning into negotiation. So if you have a person with addiction, and if you have you present them with something to evaluate, like let's say vodka with a drunkard who really likes vodka, the price is not going to weigh too much, right? Because the person has an addiction, they really love it, so it already checks all those different things that we listed in their mind. So the evaluation becomes frictionless. Okay, so negotiation, let's go more into detail with negotiation. So we talked about first discovery, right? People discover stuff. The second one is evaluation. The third one is the negotiation. And then finally, we're going to get to conversion. So negotiation is actually a historical thing. It comes from the old days. In the old days, as you know, people didn't have any money. So they had to barter over stuff. So let's say they have water, and then somebody has a microphone. They meet up, and then they say, okay, I give you a ton of water, you give me a microphone. Or, one person has, let's say, a horse, the other person has a cow. They go and exchange these. And then they negotiate over these items. So say, I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that. So negotiation in technology world is not exactly that. It's not exactly a cow versus a horse, but the negotiation still exists. There's some more examples, but let me go through this, actually. So in people's minds, you can basically present your pricing, you can present your products in different ways. And the way in which you present them plays into the negotiation between the user and you. So for example, Louis Vuitton is a well-known brand and everybody knows in the room, I assume. They have really expensive wallets, or purses and keychains and maybe also clothing. So the main negotiation here that happens at the Louis Vuitton store is whether it's worth it for you to buy that, or whether that's going to give you enough pleasure. All those different things that we discussed before in the evaluation phase. But then something else gets added to it. It's the price. So the price for Louis Vuitton is $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. It's almost irrelevant. It's virtual pricing. But the luxury part of it actually makes it worth that much. So you say to yourself, it's a luxury item, and it's $3,000. Okay, that's fine. That's the price of it. I'll just buy it. There's actually no negotiation when you have luxury attached to it. So if you want to sell something as a luxury item, then you're not going to have that much negotiation in people's mind. If they can afford it, and if they want it, they're going to buy it. There was an application, have you guys heard of it, in the App Store? That was a $1,000 I'm Rich app. Have you guys heard of it? Anybody heard of it? Okay. So people, actually, I think 6 people bought this app. Because they wanted to have an app that looks like a ruby or red or something like that, that shows up on their phone, that doesn't do anything. It just displays, I'm rich, that's it. And 6 people bought it from the App Store. People were shocked. Apple pulled it off because it's kind of ridiculous. It's not their philosophy to have useless apps. Well, it did have a use, and people actually went through the initial discovery phase. They found that app. Then they went to the evaluation phase. This is something that appeals to me. My needs and likes and the value and the price, it's a deal. I get it, I buy it. So they did convert. 6 people converted on it. Okay, next one. There's some other things that you can do. You can use different methodologies to encourage people to push themselves through this negotiation phase. So I don't know if you guys have seen Gunday. Anybody know Gunday chocolates? Okay. So Gunday is a luxury chocolate brand. It's a Belgian chocolate dating from like 1900s. This chocolate brand recently started changing the way that it actually markets to people. They want to be more available to common people. So they want to make themselves more available to people who want to just pay a little bit more and get a little bit of a taste of luxury. So they opened up a lot of stores in various different shopping centers, especially in expensive shopping centers. So what people do is they go through the different stores. So they go through a discovery phase in the shopping center. They go through all these stores that are so expensive that they don't find anything to buy. They're like, shit, everything is so expensive. Then what they do is they see the Godiva store, and they say to themselves, I just found a chocolate store that looks really elegant, just like the stores that I saw at the shopping center. And I know that I'm going to find something that I can afford here. It's going to be cheap, and I'm going to convert on this. So they go into the store, and they see a bunch of different kinds of chocolate. They look beautiful, amazing, and they give you a little sample, so you can actually taste the chocolate too. They push you through that conversion funnel. They really want you to buy that chocolate. And they give you even a piece of small chocolate so that you're encouraged to buy it. Because they want you to taste it so that they affect all of your senses. So anyway, you end up buying the chocolate and you're done, you convert it. So what they did is, because they want to be more present, they want to be more available everywhere, their deal is now something different. They branded the chocolate, the Godiva chocolate boxes, with city names. So I don't know if they'll have it in Moscow, I'll have to check at the airport, but as you leave Moscow, at the airport, suddenly, there'll be a Godiva box with the Kremlin picture on it that will say, why don't you grab this as you leave the city as a souvenir? So it kind of pushes you to buy something as a souvenir. That's the deal, that's the negotiation. The negotiation is, hey, you have this need that you have to get a souvenir before you leave Moscow, and you should get this Godiva chocolate instead of a matryoshka or something else. Okay, next one. This is an example that's not actually from this part of the world, it's more of an American example. So Americans try to push you through this negotiation phase, right? they want to actually negotiate with you without you even knowing that they're negotiating. So what they do is, they create all these different kinds of marketing pitches, marketing ideas, and so on. This is a really good one. This is actually a common practice in the US. There's a lot of furniture stores that sell just mattresses. Basically, you just go in, you can get a bed frame, you can get a mattress. And oftentimes, it's an expensive purchase. It's a 1.5K purchase, so it's $1,500 purchase. That's the average mattress price in the United States. So they know that it's a high friction, really difficult decision for people to buy a mattress because you end up using a mattress for 10 years. So the evaluation in the negotiation phase for a person is the price, $1,500, the time that they're going to use that mattress, 10 years, and then the comfort level that they're going to have with that mattress. So it's a really big decision for people to make, but they want to make it as easy as possible, so this is what they do. They say their store is going out of business. They say the store is going out of business, game over, we totally lost this game, and we want to sell all our mattresses at a really deep discount. So they create all this marketing with these big banners, going out of business, we're going to close our store, come help us eliminate our inventory because we're not going to be able to sell it otherwise, please buy it, and so on. Then they also put these guys on the street wearing big boards that say going out of business sale, and they jump around, dance around, and so on. So it's a marketing gimmick, and it's a really easy way to convince people to not even think about all those different factors, the price, the fact that they're going to have to live with that mattress for 10 years, and all that stuff. So it's a negotiation tactic. Okay, another one, the upsell. So if you go to McDonald's, and who has eaten at McDonald's in the last week? Okay, I just ate in the last 2 days twice. So, and you always have this big decision you need to make, right? Do you want to buy just a Big Mac, or do you want to buy the Big Mac plus the drink plus the fries? It's such a big decision. So they also price things in such a way that actually pushes you to make that decision. They price it at $3, let's say, for the burger, and then another $3.50 for the drink and the fries. Maybe my pricing is wrong, based on Big Mac index. I don't know what they do in Moscow. I didn't pay attention, it was in rubles. So it's hard to kind of change it, convert it back to dollars, but that's what they do. And they try to upsell you into buying more, because the more they sell, the more money that they're able to extract from you, the better for them. And by the way, I'm talking about all of this stuff in the real world because these are applicable things in the virtual world. You can actually apply all of these theories in how you sell or how you market or how you negotiate with your users. So these are all relevant items. That's why I'm going through these. It's not because I want to talk about McDonald's or I like McDonald's or I want to endorse McDonald's. It's actually unhealthy food, but it's useful stuff. Okay. Actually, before that, I'm going to tell you another interesting fact about McDonald's. So the menu items here, or in the Western world, I was talking about culture, right? So in the Western world, up to Russia, they give you burgers, and they give you drinks, and they give you fries. Well, we just opened an office in Manila, Philippines, and there I got to go to McDonald's too. It's an easy place to walk in and get stuff. They have a really interesting combo. It's an upsell that's extremely weird. It's a drink, it's an ice cream. It's really hot in Manila. It's actually as hot as Moscow now. They give you an ice cream, but they also give you fries. So you get an ice cream sundae and fries. It's a combo, it's an upsell. What they saw was Filipinos like salty stuff with sweet stuff, right? So they combined the cultural knowledge that they had with the menu items, so they created a combo deal that's not just an ice cream, it's an ice cream with fries. And the Filipinos actually eat this, they dip the fries in the ice cream and they eat it. Has anybody done that? I have. So culture actually plays into the deals. So when you create your deals and your applications and so on, you also need to think about the culture of the users. So if your users are coming from a different country, you should probably research, what kind of stuff they like, how people market stuff in those markets. You check out their competition and see what they do. especially local competition. You can learn a lot from them. Okay, next one. So, discounts. So discounts is a good way to negotiate with your users also. So skidka, let's say $500, 50% off. So that's $250, right? Okay, then it gets a bit confusing. You can actually make it look like you're giving more discount. You can say, not only is 25% off, not only it's a discount, but also on top of that, there's another 25% off just for today. What happens? So people think, oh shit, not only is discounted, but it's also discounted on top of that. Well, I think Russians know math really well. So that probably wouldn't work in Russia, right? So the cultural thing will work against it. So as you know, 25 plus 25, it doesn't quite equal 50%, right? It's less of a discount, but it sounds better. So Americans actually typically choose that one. So the main department store in the United States, the Macy's, they have discounts over discounts. They say 25% off, plus another 25% off, plus another 2% off, or 5% off, whatever. You're like, okay, I'm flooded with discounts, I give up, I'm gonna buy this. Next one. This is another one. This is actually... I guess our designer used my spelling. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have contracts in Russia, I didn't check, but basically in the US, they tell you, hey, you want an iPhone? Great. iPhone is a really appealing product, right? Everybody loves iPhone. Okay, if you want to get the iPhone, you have to actually subscribe to a 24-month contract. So you have to become a customer of AT&T, which is the main operator in the United States. It's kind of like MTS. So you have to subscribe to this plan. You have to pay for data, you have to pay for the main minutes that you use. Text messaging is included in that, because Americans don't text message too much. And they tell you have to keep paying, basically. It's almost like a lifelong prison deal. And they tell you the iPhone is going to be free. You don't have to even pay for this really hot item that everybody wants. So it's a deal, right? But then what they do is they give you a contract. So the contract says you cannot get out of this deal. The negotiation is that once you sign that deal, you cannot get out of it. And you're getting everything for free. I mean, if you think about it, the phone is free. It's great. You don't have to pay $600, $700 for the phone. The contract is the regular contract that you would normally pay every month. Easy. But then what they're doing is they're getting you to commit to using AT&T for 2 years. So you can't switch to their competitor. They're blocking you from moving to the competition. It's a really smart move. And if they give you this contract, it says in the contract, if you read it, and most Americans don't read contracts that are 5 pages long, because they like things simple, right? It says in there, if you break the contract, you owe the price of the phone, prorated based on the months, plus a $250 penalty for breaking the contract. So if you are visiting the United States, and if you want to get a contract phone as a tourist, you'll actually end up paying $250 additional if you want to break the contract within the time frame that you're there. So it's really smart to do this. Now, you can't really apply this to the application world, but there's ways to do it. But if you can come up with some nice pricing strategy or a nice way to engage the users, you can probably do that. Okay, next one. Scarcity. So scarcity is the fact that something is rare, right? So what are rare? It's diamonds. Are diamonds rare? Who believes that diamonds are rare? Wow, nobody. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks, man. So basically, diamonds are not rare, but there's a company called De Beers. And what they do is they buy all the diamonds of the world, and then they release the diamonds slowly. Every year, they estimate how many diamonds are going to be purchased by people, and they release those diamonds slowly. When do people buy diamonds? When they get married, right? Pretty much that's the only time. I don't think people buy diamonds as an investment. They make it look like it's actually a good investment. It's not. It's just something that's not that rare. But they do everything that they can, marketing-wise, to make it look like diamonds are rare. So people end up buying diamonds, not only, when they're marrying someone, but also they buy it, let's say, at their 10-year anniversary now, at their 50-year anniversary, and so on. So you end up having a bunch of diamonds that you don't need. So that's the other way to do it. So if you say that a deal is rare, meaning it's only a limited time deal, it's only available today, what you're doing is you're combining a deal with the rarity, the scarcity of that deal. It's a rare deal. It's only available now. And that's something that you can apply when you're promoting your application, when you're trying to get those people to convert. Okay. This is the cross-sell. Do you guys know, who knows the story? So what do Pampers and Budweiser have in common? It's kind of random, right? Well, here's the story. So there's a big American department store. Not department store, it's a store. It's a mega store. It's Walmart. So Walmart analyzed that guys, when they shop for their babies' Pampers, they go to look for the Pampers, they buy that, and then they go buy their beer to watch their favorite sports. So they do those two things together. So what they did is, they now put, always in the United States, the Pampers next to beer, and beer next to Pampers. So you'll see cases of, not cold, but cases of 6-packs or 24-packs of Budweiser beer or other kinds of beer right next to Pampers. And that's a really amazing cross-sell. So that's how the cross-sell was invented. That was the first cross-sell that was ever invented. And it's so effective, if you can find people who buy one thing that also go and buy something else, you can actually do these cross-marketing deals. And you can promote yourself, you can promote other applications and so on by doing those deals. So one company that utilized this in a really good way was Zynga in the gaming space. So Zynga created the cross-promotion bar in Facebook on top of each of the applications. So what they did was they had one or two really hit games. They had the poker game and they had the farming game, right? And they started promoting all their other random games. So the top part of their application was dedicated to that, and then they realized it was so successful, they actually duplicated that. They repeated another bottom bar, not a top bar, but a bottom bar, that had a bunch of cross-promotional games. And that's how they were able to propagate from having one hit game or two hit games to a bunch of hit games, and they ended up taking over the whole Facebook economy. Facebook was, of course, giving them a lot of priority visibility on the feed and so on, but still, that was a really good way that they were able to get a lot of users. Okay, next one. So here I combined 9th of May, which is my birthday, no, it's Victory Day, then Pavedi, right? With the American Never Forget slogan. So basically, I see a lot of this in Moscow. There's a lot of those, most cars have the orange and black ribbon on their cars. So somehow, some smart person came up with this idea to sell these ribbons. I didn't see these in Kiev. We have an office in Kiev, I go to Kiev all the time. I didn't see so many ribbons on cars, but somebody smart in Moscow came up with the idea, or a group of people, and they started promoting these ribbons that are black and orange, that promote the Den Pavilion. Well, it's a really important day to commemorate, so it's smart. It appeals to people's emotions. The price probably is low. I don't know how much it is. It's probably, how much is it?
Really, it's free.
Free? Perfect. Then you have no friction. It's even better. So yes, so people just get it and put it on there. Then you're just basically appealing to the people's emotions, and they just have to just convert by attaching that to their car. So that's the conversion process. So it's a really easy thing to convert.
By the way, I saw they sell in Russia flag.
Yes?
White, blue, red. As an example, as an addition to that.
I see. So is that the cross-sell?
Yeah.
That's the cross-sell. Okay, so that's smart. So they give away something for free, the ribbon, right? And then they cross-sell the Russian flag. And how much do they sell the Russian flag for?
50 rubles.
How much? 50 rubles. Okay, so my price was too expensive. Okay. So I failed with my negotiation. So nobody would buy this because it's available for free. I didn't think about my competition, and my pricing is totally fucked. Okay, so that's a really smart way to do it, to combine something for free with something that costs money and do the cross-sell. That's a smart move. Basically, my point here was the holiday sale. But there's a lot of points in this one because it's an emotional sale, right? It's something that sells pride and so on. Religion actually is similar to that. Religion is a great thing to sell. It has zero cost of inventory, and it's viral, and also you just sell it and done. And you can actually do a bunch of cross-sells from that. Oh, you know, you're so religious, why don't you also get this book? Read more about the religion? Why don't you buy this symbol that you can wear every day? Why don't you get this, why don't you get that? The whole society basically ends up cross-selling each other on that. Okay, next one. So basically, negotiation phase has this evaluation. And then at some point in time, once that evaluation is done, the person stops. They have made a decision. That decision is either a hormonal reaction or some, I don't know, neurons in your brain connecting to each other and somehow logically deciding that there has to be a conversion. So we're all working really hard to make sure that that conversion happens. And it's for everything. It's for a speech that I give, it's for McDonald's to sell their burgers, it's for you to sell the apps, it's for you to sell the in-game currencies, or it's for you to sell your company once you get big, or it's for anything in the world. So everything is about a sale. Everything's about a sale. And we all work so hard to get that decision in that person's brain. And we want to appeal to everybody, because we want to appeal to the most common denominator, to the smartest people, the richest people, and so on. So you have all of these levers that you can use with the pricing that you choose, the luxury that you can choose, the emotional reaction that you want to create for the user to make that decision, all of these. They're available to you as tools that you can use to play with people's reaction, the hormonal reaction. Okay, so once the user is ready to convert, then there has to be more stuff, because we're not done yet. I have to keep going. Then the whole question becomes money, money, money. So in the old days, right, the people used to shake hands and say, hey, I'm giving you my cow, you're going to give me your horse. And then the exchange would happen, right? The barter exchange would happen. So now, in the modern day, things have evolved. We don't exchange items anymore. We don't barter anymore. Instead, we use money. So the whole issue becomes the transfer of money. So in the real world, again, things have evolved. We've evolved from using cash to credit cards in 1950s, to wire transfer again in like maybe 20s to 19, until now, we still use wire transfers. Wire transfers are actually pretty old. Maybe it goes back to the old days when the postal service in the United States, or maybe it was not even the United States, they used to give some money in a digital form or in a paper form, and it used to be carried by a carriage from one side of the United States to the other side of the United States. So that's how far back wire transfer dates back to. Checks came, I think, to the market in like 1950s, 60s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. So those are the old world or real world methods of transferring the money. And then the virtual ones have exploded. So we still have the same methods. You still have cash, credit cards, wire transfers, and check payments. You still have some traces of those. But now we also have mobile payments. You can actually pay with your mobile phone, and you don't actually make the payments with the phone. You don't put money into it or anything. You get billed at the end of the month with your cell phone provider, or you have prepaid credits, and those prepaid credits get deducted from your points. You have e-wallets. Who here uses web money? Okay, Gunday, Gunday. Okay, so everybody uses these things. So e-wallets are a common thing. In the Western world, though, it's PayPal, and if you go to Brazil, it's something else. It's Mercado Pago. So these are all local, different payment options. Each culture has created their own payment methods. In Russia, there's main 3-4 payment options. And if you go to some other places, different options. In Russia, we have kiosk payments. You basically go to the machine, you put the money in there. Most of them are run by Kiwi, and you guys know Kiwi IPO'd last week, and they raised 200 million. They're actually almost worth $1 billion. So they did an amazing job, I would say, as a company. And then you also have prepaid cards. The prepaid cards are, you go and you deposit some money and you buy this prepaid card, and then you have a scratcher on the back, just like the cell phone top-ups, or you can go to some internet cafe or something else like that. So those are all the options that are available in the virtual world. So the idea is, now that our lives have become more virtual, there have been more and more payment options created. So people can use these payment options to transfer money and to get people to convert faster. So we all work so hard in creating all of these different things in life. Different products, marketing, distribution channels, this and that. But what it comes down to in the end is having those options for the users to transfer money to you. Like, let's say you go to a restaurant, and if you're an American, if the restaurant doesn't take credit cards, and if you don't have any cash, you can't pay to the restaurant. They'll actually make you wash the dishes. So, obviously nobody wants to wash the dishes, so you choose restaurants that have the Visa MasterCard logo before you go in. And everybody checks that. They're like, oh, I hope they take Visa MasterCard. I hope they take credit cards. So that's the main point. And it's really important if you're building games, especially if you're going international, you have to think about not only your marketing, discovery, your evaluation phase, your negotiation phase, but in the conversion phase, you have to really think about how your users are going to pay you. And you have to give them with as many payment options as possible. Okay, so what else is important? At that phase, there are some other technical things that become important. So one is load time of the payments page. If your payments page takes too long to load, the users are going to have that thing in their mind. They're going to say, I want to pay now. They're going to pull their credit cards. They're about to pay, but the page keeps loading and loading and loading and loading. Nothing pops up. You're like, oh, this is terrible. I want to pay, but I can't pay now. It's not loading. So at that point, you lose that user. You actually have a loss, a conversion loss. The second one is mobile versus web optimization. Well, nowadays, especially in the last year, people have transitioned from using web interfaces to using mobile interfaces. I would say the market shifted so much that people are not buying PCs anymore. So everybody's the next device that they buy is not a PC. It's usually a tablet or it's a new phone that's a smartphone and so on. So it's really important for you to be available, especially when you're trying to convert that user as a payment page or as a conversion page with as many options as possible. So you want to for sure support Android on the mobile side. You want to support iOS devices. And then there's a bunch of other devices out there also that you may choose or not choose to support. It's totally up to you. But you're going to be losing customers if there are customers that use those phones and devices. Then not only the type of the device is important, but also the size, the dimension of the device is important also. If you're using a smartphone, it's going to be about 4 inches big, and then if you have a smart tablet, it's going to be 7 to 10 inches in size. So you want to make sure your interfaces are adjusted, the payment interfaces are adjusted to accommodate those two different size variations. Then still, if you have a web version of your product, you want to keep the web version also available. Then you have to support many different browser versions. It gets even more complicated. You have to support IE, Firefox, Chrome, and many other different browser types. Okay, moving on, payment variety. So if you have users from Russia, you have to, for sure, support Kiwi, Gunday, web money as the main 3 options, then credit cards, then mobile payments. If you think about it, that's quite a bit of options to support. Then let's say you expand from Russia to Poland. Poland is just right next door. You can walk there, not really, but you can almost go there quite fast. So in Poland, the payment behavior changes. You have their own e-wallets, you have their own bank transfer methods, and so on. So for each country, you need to support different options. And if you're planning on expanding globally, then you're going to have to find some solutions for that, like our solution. Okay, local options and language. So let's say you are a Russian company, you are developing your site in Russian, your games in Russian, and then you decided to go global. Let's say you're trying to attack the US market. And not just the US, but the global market. If you translate your application, your game, into English, the whole world pretty much opens up to you at this point in time. Do you have any questions? So the whole world opens up to you automatically. But then, for each country, you're going to have to support the local payment methods. Also, let's say you're expanding to France, then you need to start supporting a French language version of your product. But then not only your product needs to be in French, but the checkout, the payment pages, the payment experience, the conversion path, the real conversion path also needs to be translated. Next one is local currency. So at that point of conversion, if you show the prices in some random currency that the users don't understand, you're not going to be able to get them to pay. Because they're not going to understand how much that thing costs. So they're not going to be able to do their evaluation and negotiation phases at that point in time. They're not going to understand what's going on. So it's just like me, I wasn't sure how much the 9th of May ribbon should cost, because I'm not so used to the Russian market. I thought it would be 100 rubles. I don't know how much taxi costs. It's varied from 200 to 400. I'm still not sure how much we're supposed to pay. So you have to kind of convert the pricing into the local currency and display the prices in a user-friendly way. So, for example, Americans have done research, and based on the research, you actually go to stores, you see these really weird prices in the stores, everything ends in a 99. So you buy, let's say, I don't know, a cap. The cap will be $15.99, $19.99, $29.99, something like that. And they saw that when they end the prices in 99, people don't perceive that it's a price that's at the next level. They think it's at the lower level. So they round down most of the time. When they see 19.99, they think it's 19, not 20. That's why they do the 99. But they also did some tests recently. What they saw is, if you price your items ending in a 2 or 3, it actually looks even better than the 99. It looks cheaper. Because they see a smaller number, and it kind of overrides the 99 phenomenon. So if you're localizing your pricing, you need to make sure that your pricing also is localized in the local currency. So you want to show like 100 rubles. You don't want to show like 97 rubles or 83 rubles or something like that, because it looks a bit scary or so. Or you don't want to do 83.5 rubles. Well, how are you going to pay the 0.5? People just don't get that. So if you're going global, that's something to think about. Next one is, you don't want any surprises during the checkout experience. You don't want people to see something random or a cross-sell or an upsell, because you want people to be focused. You want people to just go through the experience. Finally, trust. There's a lot of companies that provide these trust logos. SSL is if you're on the web, you want to make sure that your website is SSL encrypted so that you give people confidence when they're checking out. Based on stats in Germany, Germans are the most security conscious nation in the world. They're really scared of making mistakes. So they usually buy insurance, and then they have also insurance against loss of insurance and so on. So they make sure that they have the SSL before they make a payment. And then finally, you want to show a confirmation page. You want to tell people that they've paid and they should be receiving the goods. And that gives them a level of confidence. Okay, so that's about it. And that's a screenshot. These are some screenshots we created. You can look at these, maybe you can download the presentation. Again, a mobile interface also needs to be available. This is our company. Basically, Paymentwall is a global payment solution. We're San Francisco based. We also have a European office in Berlin, a CIS office in Kiev. We actually just opened a new company in Russia yesterday, so we will be expanding to Russia, finally Istanbul, Turkey, and Manila, Philippines. You will wonder why these random countries. Well, we are really focused on growing in the growing markets. So all of these markets have greater than 8-9% GDP growth rate around the world. So that's been our focus. And currently we're the biggest digital goods payment solutions around the world. So that's that. So that's the marketing part of Paymentwall. And I hope that this was good. Do you have any questions?
I have no doubt.